Hi! Welcome to the Magic of Compassion. I'm Little Woo, and this week's theme is about a special type of courage that I call everyday courage. And that's different from the other type of special courage, which is save the kids from the burning building, the heroic courage that people often think about when they're watching films or they're thinking about big heroes out in the world. The heroic courage that is the standard image of heroism or courage is bigger than life, larger than life, and it's this big act of selflessness and extreme bravery. But there's another type of courage that I call everyday courage, and that is something that is not as visible. It's quiet, it's subtle, and sometimes maybe we don't acknowledge it or recognize the power that it has in our life. So everyday courage is the type of courage that it takes to live your life with compassion and integrity every day. And that's every day. And it's the continuity and consistency that is that special form of courage, because it's often not acknowledged, it's not recognized, it's not something you get a big award for at the end of the day. No one's going to maybe even notice that you're doing this, because it's sometimes behind the scenes. So everyday courage doesn't have the sensationalism or the acclaim or the fame of heroic courage, but it's just as heroic, and it's an important type of courage. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, and you might relate with some of these types of courage. I'm going to talk about 4 types of everyday courage, and you might think about which one in my life is really active right now, and which one is something that maybe it's time to amplify or be more conscious of. When we're really conscious or mindful of something, then we elevate it, and we, just by attention to it, start to activate and bring it more into our life. When you notice something, it looks right back at you, and you start to have an energetic relationship or conversation with that energy. So the first type of courage that I want to talk about that's everyday courage is the courage to be yourself. And that might seem abstract to some people, and for others it's just matter of fact. Oh yeah, every day I'm myself. But there's so many ways in which we try to hide who we are or hide what we think or feel because we're afraid to be judged or afraid that we'll be rejected or ridiculed. So there's a lot of fear of being real, of being who we are, and that can be as simple as even just speaking, about things that we enjoy or speaking our truth. So the courage to be yourself may not be as far as, you have to be extremely different. You don't have to be different. You just have to be you. And being you will make you different, because everything about you is together a special, unique combo that makes you different. And that is really special. So everyday courage to be yourself, sometimes that does mean flying your freak flag. Sometimes that means being really different or unconventional. And sometimes that can be from the smallest thing, like the courage to wear what you want to wear, or say what you want to say, or have the beliefs that you have or the practices you have without shame or without fear. Some places are dangerous in the world, and it's dangerous to share your beliefs. So that is something that is real. You might face ridicule, you might face even violence, but somewhere along the line it took a really courageous person to say, I need to be real about this aspect of my being, whether it's my gender or my sexual orientation, or my outlook on livelihood, and that I want to do work that really is meaningful to me. All those things, it took someone with everyday courage to go every day and be real about that thing, until it got to the point where enough people came together and said, yeah, we share that value, we share that practice, we share that belief with you, and then becomes a movement. So sometimes say, well, I'd rather not know about some people's beliefs because they're really, against my beliefs. But that's where the dialogue happens, if we're all real with each other and learn to be real in a safe way, but it's not always safe in the world. So, what does safety mean? Safety means that by being real together, you have more chance of creating a world that allows diversity rather than forces a particular norm, because everyone's afraid to reveal how different they might be. And if they just did that, and it's not as simple as it sounds, but it is important. It's that everyday continuity that creates a major change in society. So that type of courage takes a long time to create safety, but it takes that person or those people who are willing to be real. So that's the first type of courage I want to talk about. The second type is the courage to transform your fears. And so if you notice that, oh, there's certain areas in my life that I'm very afraid, and you start to take one or two and say, what can I do to understand this fear? Why do I have it? What kind of beliefs do I have that inform this fear? Where did it come from? Being able to ask those questions is a type of everyday courage. And being able to transform your reactions is that space of conscious choice. So before you react, if you have the courage to say, I'm just going to give myself a space to make a choice, that is a form of everyday courage, and it's a form of mindfulness. Courage to see what holds you back, what blocks you, those things take a lot of courage. Often we just want to escape from our fears. We don't want to face them. And so having the courage to actually look at the monsters under your bed and say, what is holding me back? And I really want to know. With earnest curiosity and deep compassion, I'm going to look under the bed and say, what is scaring me? What is making me afraid of this job, of this opportunity, of this person? How can I let go of fear in my life? That's a really powerful form of everyday courage. And the ability to look at that helps you to heal your triggers and your wounds. So the willingness to heal is a form of everyday courage, because healing is not just a one-night affair. It's a journey. And so that takes consistent courage, constantly, because it gets up and down. It's hard. It's not easy. And then the courage to grow your compassion, to even forgive yourself or others for trespasses, and be able to look past the pain of those trespasses, the pain of sometimes what we've chosen to do before or unconsciously reacted. That takes a lot of courage. The third type of courage I want to talk about is the courage to maintain and grow your integrity. And that's something that, children, they don't really have a strong sense of their own ethical compass at first. It's just, they're just exploring, they're experimenting, it's very innocent. But over time, they start to develop a sense of, that doesn't feel good, that doesn't feel right. Or they might have been given a set of a guidance from their parents or from society, from teachers. And so the courage to face the discomfort of when we've made a mistake or when we've been dishonorable, that takes so much courage. And the courage to speak your truth in a difficult situation, similar to being yourself, but it's often around, when you made a mistake, when you need to own up or take responsibility, that takes a lot of courage. And being able to make amends, be able to reconcile, be able to honor your mistakes and really deal with what choices you've made in life, that takes huge courage. But those are the little things that people don't often see. The way that we resolve these issues, the way that we face and maintain our integrity is everyday courage. And the last type of courage I want to talk about today is the courage to take risks. And that courage that it requires, where you have no guarantees, you have no promises, you don't have a money back guarantee, you don't know what's going to happen. And it's often something you've never done before, or it's outside of your comfort zone. So another place where there's a lot of discomfort is when you're taking risks. To take that leap of faith means that you're going to have to be brave. You're going to have to say, I'm scared, and still I'm going to do this thing that's beyond my skill set or beyond my knowledge or beyond my guarantee of outcome. And, there's some logic in it and trying to, intuition to see, well, is this a good risk to take? But ultimately, most choices involve some risk. And the courage to follow your heart is another type of risk-taking, because when your heart says you need to do this thing, it's not always full of logic. It doesn't always tell you all the reasons why you want to do this thing. It just is calling you. You feel called. And that calling, it takes courage to honor, to listen, to heed the call to action. And the courage to dream, even come up with a vision of what you want. It takes courage. A lot of people shut down their visions. A lot of people shut down their hopes and dreams for the future because they've had so much disappointment, or they feel like their failures are unbearable, or they feel like if they make a mistake that they won't be able to return from that. And so the courage to say, I have this vision or dream, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is, it's to be able to take the courage to have the ability to risk, to envision, and to take action, and to continue day after day is another form of everyday courage. And so all those types of courage, the 4 types I've talked about, if you look at your life right now, which one is most active for you? The courage to be yourself, the courage to transform fears and do healing, the courage to develop your integrity, and the courage to take risks. Which of those 4 are most active? Maybe it's several of them. And which one do you feel is something you feel inspired to activate more and to amplify, or you feel, yes, I can see how this type of everyday courage is going to help me in this thing that I'm exploring right now in my life, or this challenge that I'm facing. What type of courage will help you meet that challenge that you're seeing in your life, or that vision that you have in your life? And as you think about that question, I'd love to hear from you. If you want to write me a message, a comment, an email, always love hearing from people, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're curious about my one-on-one sessions, workshops, or online classes, visit littlewood.org. Lots of love.